Now we're going to go on to the second video, going through the book, 1.2 on page 3, starting with constructs. Okay, constructs. For example, of constructs are anxiety, intelligence, projection, superego, stress, self-esteem. These are central concepts, okay, and they're abstract concepts. They're not concrete. So how do we connect that to research and to data and to truth and to accurately knowing what's going on in the world, constructing a picture of reality with them? So these are constructs. They are made-up concepts that we use to explain things like behavioral patterns. We can observe constructs, the effects of constructs in the world, but we can't see them themselves directly. Okay, now constructs are not always simple things. They don't always fit perfectly with one another. So you can have a whole bunch of constructs and some are mutually exclusive, or one construct will cause a fatal flaw in another construct. And this isn't just true in psychology, it's true even in physics, which is incredibly well verified. There are still constructs in physics that don't marry nicely with other constructs, okay? Because it's reality is a moving target. Some facts are more certain than others, but there are perfectly reputable scientists who query the most globally accepted facts in science and who are not wrong to do so, although they may actually be wrong. Okay. All right, so a theory. Now let's quickly unpack the concept of a theory. A theory is like the framework of the facts. It's the logical connection and relationship between different constructs and facts, okay? And it can, again, be quite complex. Sometimes a theory is very tight, like a mathematical theorem. There's no room for doubt or equivocation in it. In the social sciences, theories can be much more fluid and loose than that, okay? All right. So how we observe constructs is we make them visible through measurement. And this is a major concept. And the word for it is also major. It's major long. It's called operationalization. And this is used in some very interesting and complex disciplines, such as engineering, specifically industrial engineering, where vast amounts of data are looked at and understood. This is the math that also underpins profitability on the stock market and all sorts of very interesting and amazing breakthroughs and optimizations of things, operationalization. Okay, so operationalization is when you take an idea, a construct, a concept, and you find ways to measure it in numbers so that you can observe it. Okay, you quantify it. Okay, so quantification, there's two major threads that run through that. One is categorization, and the other is converting it into numbers. Okay, so there are ways of measuring and identifying and understanding quite abstract concepts such as intelligence, anxiety, trustworthiness, psychotic behavior through operationalization. Okay, so let's make it concrete. So, for example, anxiety. You could ask a person how they are feeling and create categories to break that down into. You could also measure physiologically symptoms of anxiety that they may be experiencing. You could also look at, in a population, behavior that is associated or correlated with anxiety. Okay, so there's many different ways that you can look at different constructs. And okay, so When we measure constructs, we call it observation, because observation in this sense is observation that you can verify, that you can share with others, because scientific observation is something that should be able to be shared with others. You know, if I simply see something happening, that's observation, but I can't show it to anyone else. So in this context, observation is a very similar in meaning to measuring. Okay. We also speak of operationalization as creating a definition for a construct, because it's a practical demonstration of what the construct is and how it fits into reality. But of course, there can never be a perfect correlation between a construct or theory and reality. Reality is simply too complex. Okay, so the question of, is the measurement accurate? What exactly are you measuring? And how is this fitting together? Is this really valid? That is called psychometrics, measuring, concerned with the validity of measurements. But we're going to skip over psychometrics and just assume that our measurements are pretty much spot on for this course so that we can focus on other things. Okay. Then also the level of measurement is an issue. If you take the very big picture, you're not going to get the finer details. If you break it down into details that are too fine, you're not going to get the big picture. Okay? So we're looking at two kinds of measurements. And there are 4 types of measurement. Okay, so we've got 4 types of measurement. And here we can remember it as NOIR, or no, I, are not good at English, or whatever you want to say. Okay? So N for nominal. Nominal means that, and this is totally in the exam, 100% guaranteed this is going to be in either the assessments or the exam or both. It is almost certainly going to be in. So nominal, when you name a category and you allocate it a number. So use a number to name a category. That's nominal. Okay? Then O, noir. O is the, oh, I've gone blank. One moment. It's in Appendix B. And I had it in my head and it was all perfectly explained. Ordinal. Okay. Ordinal means what order. Okay. You're putting things in order along a continuum. So this would be your typical 5-star rating. Okay. Is it a 5-star or is it a 1-star? What was the restaurant like? 5 stars to 1 star. Okay. Ordinal scale, to put things in order on a continuum. Okay, then we've got the interval scale. Okay, so these are all intervals, and an interval scale measures all the numbers, both positive and negative. Okay, so it measures the difference between 2 numbers, measuring a difference in intensity or quantity. So an interval scale can be anywhere along from minus whatever to positive whatever, and 0 is somewhere along there. For example, when you measure temperature, where 0 is, it's the freezing point of water, but other liquids have different freezing points. The ratio scale is simply the positive half, only the positive, so noir, okay? Nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So for qualitative research, we use the nominal and ordinal measurements, okay? And for quantitative research, we use the interval and ratio. The interval and ratio is a quantity or measurement, and nominal is a category or categorical variable. Okay. All right. One more thing. I am already at half the number of subscribers I need to become monetized on YouTube. So I would love it if you were to like, share, and subscribe if that rocks your boat. Okay, thank you. See you in the next video.